Thanks for the challenge. Here's the response.
Today we're here with a lovely Audi S5 Quattro. This has the 4.2 liter TFSI engine and it is a sports car. A lovely, lovely sports car. You can see it has the bucket seats. It's the classic two-door, so it doesn't have the rear doors. And the complaint with this thing is that the car is dead. This has a very sad backstory and should be a lesson to a lot of Kenyan car owners. This car was taken to the premier dealership of Audi and Volkswagen cars. I will not mention their name, but they are big and they're considered to be the best in the country. It went there for a misfire. When it went there, they were to diagnose it and then get back to the owner. It never left there alive after that. So as far as what the owner has told me is it went into the misfire, they started diagnosing and something happened along the way and the car completely died. And they've been trying to revive it for months. So after about 8 months, the owner got tired and decided to tow it away from the dealership. So they gave him back the car. I don't know if they charged him or not, but they gave him back the car and they towed it back to his house. At his house, he spent 3 months getting what were considered to be the top technicians for Audi that he can get in the country. They came, they diagnosed this car. I can see panels are loose over here. They took a couple of things out. That display was taken out. This was taken out. It went with some guy for around 3 weeks, brought it back. And what he said was, when we get this to be alive, the car will come alive. They do not know what's wrong with the car. That's where we are today. And this is where they called me. Now, let me show you what the car is doing. So there's no activity in the car at all. But if you put the key in the ignition, you can hear the steering lock unlocks, the mirrors come out, but there's no activity. I can hear some relays clicking. And when you go to start the car, it's a manual, so you press in the clutch and you press, nothing happens. And then you hear that click, it releases the key. So you can do that again. I can hear the fuel pump, but nothing happens. No activity on the dash at all, nothing. So what are you going to do in a situation like this? The first thing I want to see is there anything online? These cars need the gateway to be online. Now, as soon as you put the key in the ignition, actually, as soon as you open the doors in these cars, the gateway should come alive and you should be able to read it on your scan tool. So let me hook up the scan tool. And then we're going to try and see if we can have any computer activity from this car. All right, scanning it here with a scan tool. We've got no communication. And that is a very good indicator that our gateway is dead. Now we've got a couple of fuses down there on the floor and they're all 5-amp fuses. So we are looking at an electrical problem for sure. Now, Volkswagen do not give any information on power supply going from the battery all the way to the fuses. You have to get that from individual circuits. But since we know that our gateway is the most important entity, let us go to a wiring diagram and look for the gateway, and then we shall proceed. Now, before doing anything, I just want to confirm the battery voltage, because in Volkswagen and Audis, strange things begin to happen when battery voltage dips below 11.5 volts. So let's go to the back of the car and we're going to check the battery voltage and make sure that we have sufficient voltage for this system to operate. So for this car's battery is in the trunk and we have 12.35 volts at the battery. So this battery is more than capable of starting this vehicle. At this point in time, I'm interested in the gateway. I need my gateway alive. So let's go to the wiring diagram and see what we can pull up for the gateway. We are in ELSA. We've identified the vehicle. Let's go to the wiring diagram And we're going to search for our gateway. Now our gateway is going to be called the data bus diagnostic interface from June 2007. That's us. Let's go to page 1 and we blow that up. So here we see that we have power coming from SD2, SD5, and we are either on 7 or 5. So let's look at our options. Seven is from May 2009. It's not us. So we are on 5 up to April 2009. So this is our line. We're coming to pin 1 on the red and brown wire, and our ground is on pin 11 on the brown wire. So fuse SD2, SD5. Let's go to our fitting locations, fuses. So the fuse you're looking for is SD5. So let's go here, fuse holder D, SD, hit that. And it says here fuse holder SD, fuse location for modules with left-hand drive is this. For modules with right-hand drive is this. So we are right-hand drive, this is our guy, and we were on ST2, and it is SD5. Now, if you notice here, we're counting from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 here is going to be our SD5. And let's just confirm SD2 and SD5 here is a data bus diagnostic interface. Now it says here terminal 30, which means this fuse should be hot at all times. Terminal 30 is battery power permanent. So let's go to the car and interrogate this fuse. So that's our passenger side fuse box, and this long stack here is ST2 and SD5 is fuse 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the fuse that we need to test. That's our gateway fuse. Now I have jumper leads connected to the back at the battery. You never want to do any testing unless you're on battery positive and battery negative. Trust me, I've gotten burnt several times by using other power or ground sources. Nothing fancy, just a test light. We've connected the test light to battery negative, which means if we touch positive, we are testing for power. All right, let's come here to our fuses, and our fuse is fuse 5, and that side is hot, and this side is cold. Okay, so we can just do another one for comparison. All right, so that's a good fuse. This one is a blown fuse. All right, now that explains the stack of 5 amp fuses that we found laying on the floor over here. So I'm not the first one to see this problem, but why couldn't it be fixed? Let's remove that fuse first, and what I want to do is to observe it. And if you look at that element, you'll notice that element is violently popped. It's basically exploded in there, which means there's a hard short possibility. There's a hard short in here. So how am I going to test for a short? First, let me put the fuse back. I'm not going to waste my 5 amp fuses on this until I know there's no short. Let's take our test light. We are still connected to battery negative, and what we know is this side is the supply side of the fuse, which means this side should be my load side. So what I want to do is to come here to my test light, and I am going to shift from battery negative to battery positive. Okay, So now test light is connected to battery positive. If we find negative, we light up. So now we come with our test light, and I want to interrogate the load side here, and this test light should not light up if we don't have a short. And look at that, that's a hot lit test light. We have a short on this line, so I'm not going to waste my time putting fuses on this line, because the moment I put a fuse here, we're going to pop it again. Let's find out why we have a short on this line. Okay, let's go back to the wiring diagram. I want to see where the gateway lives in this car. All right, where is our gateway? Our gateway is J533. So let's come here to control units. Actually, we're looking for control units in the interior part of the vehicle. And we're going to search for 533, data bus diagnostic interface, and then location and connector is here. So it is on the dash panel next to the MMI on the glove box side. These pictures I always bias towards left-hand drive. In our case, our glove box is on the left side. So we'll go to the left side, remove the glove box, access our gateway, and then we are going to see what's happening over here. So that's our gateway connector disconnected, and the unit is right here. So now I'm interested to know, do we still have a short to ground on that line? So let's come with our test light. We're still connected to battery positive, so when you find a ground, we light up. Let's go to the load side of that fuse and let's test it. And check this out, we do not have a ground anymore on that line. That's fantastic. Now you may wonder, what's that pulsing? The central electronics unit always checks grounds by doing this. So that's the central electronics unit checking the ground. When you see that pulsing on the ground, that's actually a good sign. So we have a bad gateway that's eating up our fuses. Let me just confirm that. Take the gateway and we are going to reconnect it. Just make sure I get it in there. Okay, so it's connected. Now let's take our test light. Again, still connected to battery positive. Let's go to the load side of that fuse, and we have a short to ground, and the central electronics unit is still pulsating that ground. So confirmed, we have a bad gateway. However, I am interested in this. When I see this, somebody has tampered over here. Let me just open this, and I want to see if the wiring is good. You can't make this stuff up. So this connector comes out like this. There's a lock over here. You push that lock and you open the connector. So when I saw this, I knew this connector has been opened. Now look at this. This is red brown and this is brown. Okay, let's see the orientation on our gateway. So that's our gateway. Our orientation for this connector is like this. Okay, which means this two come to that side. Now let's look at our pin IDs here. If you look in there, number 1 is up top left, and number 11 is bottom left, which means number 1 is connected to our brown and number 11 is connected to our brown red. Guys, this connector has been wired backwards. So the power is going into the ground, and the ground is going into the power, into the gateway. That is amazing. So this gateway has been potentially messed by somebody exchanging the polarity of these wires. We need to change the polarity of these wires to match our wiring diagram. This is insane. And this is why I tell you, be careful who works on your car. Never allow anybody to touch your car if they do not have the schematics. What was someone doing here? Why did they come to wire this opposite? I don't know, but it's very easy to depin these Volkswagen Audi wires, and this is not the first time I have seen something done like this. So what we need to do is to correct the polarity of this and then connect our gateway back and see if our gateway is going to still have a short circuit. But I highly doubt it. I think this gateway is done. So let's do this repair, and I'll show you how easy it is to depin these. So this is the brown, and that's the ground. So if you press the pin in here, we can lift this out. It comes halfway, and then you press it again on this other lock, and it pulls right out. So that is our ground wire, and let's pull our power wire. Same thing, depress the lock tab in the connector, pull it up to the second stage, depress it again, and pull it out. That's how easy it is to depin Volkswagen Audi pins. And because it's easy, unfortunately people do weird things with them. So we're going to exchange them, and we're going to put the ground on this side, and we're going to put the power on that side. So now this connector is good to go, and then we just bring our sheath, lock it in there, and this is ready to accept the gateway. Now I don't think our gateway has survived, but let's just connect it. And this is a MOST connector, which is a fiber optic. Okay, so we are connected there. Let's do our short to ground test on the fuse again. Back with our test light, still connected to battery positive. Always check your test light. So let's come here and probe the load side of that fuse, and we still have a hard short to ground. So we are done for now. We need a new gateway. And what messed this gateway? Reversed polarity on the power wires. 1 year later, the real problem is found. Now there could be other issues with this car, but let's fix this one first, and then we are going to proceed. So I'll tell the owner about this. I'll give him the part number, and I will tell him either I can get it for him or he can get it himself. Now the other thing is about this part number. We need to verify that this part number here is correct. So this part number is 8T0907468F. Let's go to ETCA, which is the parts diagram, and let's verify that we have the correct part number, because the last thing you want is to install the wrong part number as a gateway on your car, right? And then we are going to proceed. We are in ETCA. Let's go to the control units and let's look for our gateway. And here's our gateway. And our part number is 8T0907468P. And here it has most, which is the fiber optic. So the part number that has been installed in the car is not even correct. What's in the car is ending with F. This one is P. So let's go in there. And we can see that there are no superstitions. So we're going to give the client this number and let him decide whether we should get it or he should get it. And then we'll come back in about a couple of weeks and then continue. However, I will warn him that if he does get a second-hand one, there will be some ramifications installing a second-hand gateway in an Audi. Remember, Audi has the infamous component protection. So I would recommend a new one, but if he gets a used one, we can still work with it. It's just that our work will be a bit more difficult. We are back 2 weeks later, and that's our unit, fresh from Lithuania. So the owner elected to get it himself, and we have the correct part number this time. That ends with a P. And we have a pigtail from the original car. So this will give us an opportunity to test our diagnostic ability, and we'll see whether the wires here are the same orientation as the corrected orientation that we did 2 weeks ago. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is to take this connector apart. Let me just get some tools. All right, so that's our guts for the connector, and let's see in here. And as you can see, this one has got red and brown on the top side and brown on this side. This is correct, and this is what we corrected our wiring to. Okay, nice. Now let's go to the gateway itself. There, still hanging in place. We're going to remove it, and we're going to put the replacement one in, and then we're going to do a short ground test. Right, nice and connected. Now let's go to the fuse box, do our short ground test before replacing that fuse. Remember, we've not replaced the fuse yet. Jumper cable to set up, and our test light is connected to battery positive. So when we are testing, we're testing for ground, and our replacement gateway is in place. Let's come to the fuse box. Remember, it was fuse 5, and we had a short to ground here. So now check that out. We no longer have a short to ground, and now we have a nice pulse from the central electrics testing that line, and we are good to go. So now we can install a fuse on that line. Let me get a fuse. Here's my replacement fuse, 5 amp, and put that down here, and we are going to remove the fuse that's in the box. And let's put this one in, and we're going to listen. I had the CD changer doing something, and there's some ticking and clicking going on in the car. That's a good sign. Okay, now let's take our test light. We want to test that fuse. Now we're going to connect our test light to battery negative because we want to test for power. Okay, now let's test here. Okay, test light is working. Let's come to the fuse and let's test it now. So that's good, hot on that side and hot on that side. So now our fuse is steady, which means that unit is good. Let's go start the car. Keep our fingers crossed. So I'm here on the driver's seat, and the first thing I notice is my meter is working. It's fantastic. All right, there's not much activity here. Okay, let me get the key. So let's put the key in, and let's put key on. Oh yeah! Oh, this is fantastic. Let's clutch in and let's start the car. Oh, we are running. We have a misfire, but we're actually running. One year later, how many technicians have looked at this from the dealer back home to countless technicians coming, all because of a bad gateway? Okay, now that gateway was not the original part number. So what I think is the original one for this car was swapped with that one, and then a couple of shenanigans happened and it led to the swapping of the wires. But that's it. So if we got another gateway and put it in before reversing that polarity, would have ended up with exactly the same scenario. The moment we plugged that gateway and changed that fuse, would have smoked that thing. Very nice. So what I want to do is to get a scan tool, and let's scan this car and see what codes we have. But this is really, really exciting. And our vehicle has auto ID'd. That is fantastic. There will be many faults because this car has been dead for a year. So I'm not first interested in this. What I want to do is just take a quick report. Okay, so I'm not even going to look at this. Then let's come here to clear all DTCs. So I want to clear everything, then rescan the vehicle and only deal with what is remaining in the system after I rescan. All right, these are the DTCs remaining. Now let's take a report. Alright, these are the DTCs. Lost communication with restraint control module, intake air switch over valve. Got a cylinder 6 ignition activation. Cylinder 6 misfire, multiple cylinder misfire. Hide cylinder upper limit exceeded. I don't know what that means. Seat adjustment. So we've got component protection on the passenger seat, component protection on the climate control, component protection on central electrics. Damn it, that's not good. Component protection on the driver's side seat. We've got no communication with airbag. And then left right hand driving switch over active. I don't know what that means. So we've got a bunch of component protections here. Let's go to our gateway. And it's showing here there are no codes, but I'm sure there'll be codes. I don't know why it's not showing. Oh yeah, of course. No airbag. Now, transmission control. We don't have an automatic transmission. This is a manual, as you can see here. So we don't have an automatic transmission. We have to code this properly so that the automatic transmission is removed from the system. And then it says here right rear door. We don't have a right rear door. This is a 2-door model. We only have front doors. Rear lid. Control module incorrectly coded. Component protection active. Okay, so we've got component protection in 5 different modules. We have no choice but to log into Odis to remove the component protection. Otherwise, these things will not work. Like that will remain dead like that. It's not actually dead, it's because it has component protection. But before logging into Odis, I want to get everything online. So let me deal with this guy here. The MMI is offline, and also the airbag is offline. Let me quickly see what that is about. Then that's cylinder 6 misfire. Actually, let me just put this off. Let me go to the engine, and I want to take a visual inspection of the engine and see what is up with cylinder 6, because it says the ignition signal implausible. So not only did the dealership brick this car, but it wasn't even repaired for the initial thing it went for, because it went there for them to address this misfire. Let's go look at those cylinders. So we are here in the front of the engine, and this is like a bad dream. This is cylinder 6. And if you notice, that connector is not in all the way, and it has a broken tab. Then we have a missing bolt here, so that harness is sagging down. Let me go look for a bolt. We're going to bolt that up, and then we are going to push this up and secure it with a cable tie. Then go back to our ignition and see if that will solve our cylinder 6 misfire, because it's saying ignition signal implausible, meaning the connection with the coil is not good. Fixed. So let's do that temporary repair. Let's go and start this car and see if that misfire goes away. And the misfire is gone. You can tell me that's it? No way. Alright, let's come here and clear. Let's go to the engine. So let's read out those DTCs again. Okay, then let's clear. And look at that. we only have the airbag and the intake air switch over valve open circuit. I'm going to look for this and see if it's connected. Actually, let me just go and look for that valve and see if it's connected. Okay, so this is the air switch over valve. It was under the air box. It's also disconnected. All right, so we're going to connect it and then put the box back and see if that code goes away. All right, let's see if we have fixed that issue. Okay, we're running well. So let's come here and we are going to delete the codes. Very nice. So the only thing remaining in the engine computer is the airbag, and the airbag seems to be quite an issue with almost every module. We need to find out what's up. So for now, we need to repair the MMI and the multimedia console, and then the airbag. I think it's somewhere under here. I'm not going to film all that. I'll just report what I see. I'll just do a quick troubleshoot, and then I will film the component protection removal, but I need all these things online because I do not want to pay for a login twice. But what we can do is the coding for the data bus OBD interface. Now, you can code this online, but if you know how Gecko accounts work, every login you pay, and I do not want to pay for more than one login. So I'm going to do this offline. The way you do it in Otis is you go to the long code and then you input the hexadecimal number here. I don't have that, and you can only get that by going online. But on these aftermarket scan tools, there is a long code and then there's a coding installation list. And in here we see the stuff that is not coded properly. For example, seat adjustment, passengers and driver's side. You can see it's not coded, but it's present. When it's like this, showing like this, not coded, it means it's present. When it is saying not registered, it means it is absent. Okay, so we have the seat adjustment for the left and right. So let me just tap here, and now it's coded. So that's coded as well. We do not have an electronic transmission here. We have a manual transmission. So let's hit that, and we don't code it. The rest of these, you will need the document that is for this vehicle specific information. I showed you that document at the beginning. Go through that document and make sure that you either code or uncode what is on that document. So let me quickly look at that document and go through this list and then see what's supposed to be there but's not here, or what's not supposed to be there but's coded, and then I will be right back. Right, after you've gone through the list and you've made sure that you've coded everything correctly, you hit coding down here and it'll say, do you want to change the coding of the system? Say yes, and then it says here coding successful. Now let's go to clear the fault code, and the only thing remaining maybe it requires me to cycle the key. Let me try that. Okay, it needed me to cycle the key. So the only one remaining is the airbag control module, and the component protection should come in after some time. So let's go to read DTC again. Yes, so the component protection should come in after some time. Then the optical data bus is because our MMI is offline, so I'm not too worried about that. Okay, good. Done with the gateway for now. Let's sort out the multimedia center and the MMI and the airbags, and then we will proceed to component protection removal. All right, a quick update. Managed to get the multimedia center working and the display working. So it was just a loose wire somewhere, and as you can see, everything is cool here. Now we still don't have sound. I need to find out what's happening with the amplifier, but this is good progress. What I wanted to see is that I do not have component protection on the radio, and I don't, but I still need to scan it and see what's up with the sound. For now, the only thing remaining is the airbag. Let's see what's up with that. Okay, so we are ready to deal with the component protection. So let's log into Otis and then we will proceed. All right, these are our test plans. Now let me give you a tip. Do not use any of these menus for the test plan to do your component protection. If you access any component protection from here, it will only do the component protection release for that particular item that you have accessed, and it will not do the rest. If you want to do the entire component protection, you do it via the control module and the gateway. So let's go to the data bus interface. We're going to right click here, guided functions, and then we're going to do 19 diagnostic interface F data component protection basis. Perform, and now this one is going to gather all the information from the car and everything that is under component protection, and then prepare them, send them to Volkswagen, and then you will only log in once. All right, so this one login is going to send everything to Volkswagen. So let's log in, let it continue, and then we'll proceed. right, the component protection program is done. Now let's come to the car. And in case you're wondering how come it's getting lighter outside, it's because I did this at 5:30 a.m. in the morning when it was still dark. The reason is those online Gecko accounts for logging in, they get saturated and they're unavailable during peak hours. So I do it off peak hours around 5:30 a.m. in the morning. I've always had success. If I do it any other time, I get frustrated. Sometimes I get bumped out of the network and you lose a lot of money that way. So now let's look at our media center. Now our lights are fully functional when you select. Climate control was flashing off, and now we can operate our climate control properly. CD changer was not accepting nor ejecting CDs, and now we can put in and remove CDs from there. MMI is fully functional. We can select our different screens and modes, and the joystick now is working. Instrument cluster now has full functionality. You can see your tach is working, temperature is working, the screen in the center is working, and our fuel gauge there is now working. Seats can now be fully adjusted backwards, forwards, up, down, tilt, and lumbar support. They could only be previously adjusted forwards and backwards. And finally, our overhead lights now are on. They could only come on when you press the key fob while you're opening the door. They would come on for about 10 seconds and then go back off. That's because the central electrics was under component protection. Okay, this 2008 Audi S5 is cooked, ready to serve back to the owner after being bricked by a local dealership, the most famous dealership in the country, for 1 whole year. Let this be a lesson. Just because you have a dealership, and just because you have a fancy office, and just because you have got fancy bays, doesn't mean you know what you're doing. In fact, I will throw out a challenge. Show me one shop that uses service information, wiring diagrams, lab scopes, and performs diagnostic fixes properly. Just one. And to anyone who sends me that, I will send you 5,000 shillings. Guaranteed. Why am I confident in that? Because there is no shop in this country that actually does this professionally. Take your car to somebody who knows what they're doing. And right here at K Mechanics, we know what we're doing, and we have put another one in the books. We'll see you next time with an interesting case study.